Hello and welcome back. I'm going to transport you to central Portugal where we went to see family, and we sort of stumbled into the idea of getting a small off-grid little piece of property to try and make somewhere where we could stay or base ourselves when we flitted backwards and forwards from the UK. In the process, we swiftly looked at a lot of properties, and the illusion and fantasy is very quick to take hold. But realistically, if you start doing a lot of research, and research that you might not want to do because it might contradict the illusion and fantasy, you swiftly realize you run into a minefield of issues and problems. And yeah, I'm not qualified to talk about those, so you need to do your own research. But to cut a long story short, any piece of off-grid land in Portugal or ruin or a piece of land that you're trying to buy, you may not be able to achieve what you want to do legally because of central governance, local governance, zoning, environmental concerns, how that property is registered, what it was used for, what your intent and what you want to do with it, and on top of that, how and when, the time frames you have to do it, and any additions that you make to that property or land might contravene what you're trying to do, or indeed what you're allowed to do. It's a very complex subject. I'm not qualified to discuss it. I'm only putting this video out so that anybody who's watching videos on central Portugal and falling in love with the illusion or fantasy, before you part with any money, try to look and get the full picture. Don't rely on people say so, or words, or because somebody just up the road has done something, because it could be vastly different from your property, and indeed they may not have done it fully legally. Basically, you have to understand that if you do anything to the property that contravenes their planning and all the raft of legal things involved, you would struggle to sell it because it would be pretty much invalid the work that you've done to it. Now, what I'm basically saying is you need professional help from professional solicitors, surveyors, architects. You would need to get local and central governance and look into rules, regulations. You would need, qualified solicitors. You need a whole raft of people on board, and you need to tell them exactly what you want to do versus what that you're thinking you can do once you get the property. It's all too easy to buy a piece of property thinking, for example, the 1951 rule or date is the be all and end all, but that comes with its own set of regulations, which a lot of people won't discuss or talk about. They will just say 1951, do what you want. That's not the case. In fact, Portugal is like any other country within the EU, and indeed Great Britain. It does have planning laws, planning regulations, land usage, registration. Nothing can be taken for given or granted that you can just tip up and do what you want, regardless, even though you've paid and bought the land. I was quite intrigued that this video did discuss all that, and I'm sure that if you searched on the internet and looked past all the fantasy and illusion, you will find videos which will warn you. I'm not saying you can't make a Portuguese off-grid, central Portuguese life happen. You more than definitely can. But be aware, don't waste your money and time and fall foul of the legal system and laws, and then find yourself regretting falling for this illusion without doing your research. So without any ado, I'll take you back in time and to a sunnier part of the world in North Cornwall. So stick around and just watch it. It may be entertaining for no other reason. Like I said, I've done no prep or research on this particular track I'm on, but yeah, I think it's the Gardenia hills or mountains, I'm not sure, and you know, I'm not going to try to bluff it because I really don't know. I've just tipped up and I'm doing it because I've seen it, but I'm enjoying this. I'm kind of in pines now, and I'll let you have a look. So you can see I've got a lot of big pine trees here. And there's a lot of pine cones there. So that's a fair indication that they're pines. But yeah, I had a pretty interesting day yesterday, and I'll tell you about it. So yeah, I'm still following these signs. So yeah, as for yesterday, well, we went to see around 7 properties. It was a really hectic day. It was hot, it was tiring, it was knackering, and it was sensory, visionary. I mean, it was everything overload for us. That's not, you know, any fault of, I don't know, the estate agent or what was happening, but it was just the fact that, you know, we were trying to take as much information and look around those properties enough to give us, you know, the best educated amount of information we could get on those properties. So yeah, it was a very full-on day yesterday. The hoodie is off and I'll continue to walk and talk. Right then, the day started at around 9 o'clock for us, so we had to be in Castello Branco for literally 9 prompt, and that was getting the kids ready and the whole shebang, getting the whole show on the road, shall I say. So we got there for 9, got in the office, did some more, you know, discussion, a little bit more fact finding, and added a few more properties on the list that we wanted to see. And this equated to quite a lot of properties. We then went back to our car and awaited the driver and the person showing us around the properties to meet us. So we waited there for half an hour. We then got found by the gentleman and we set off on our journey. Now, it was a bit of an experience. Indication is not widely practiced, and I know that's a generalisation, but you know, that's how it felt to us. And basically the standard of driving was a little bit erratic, and it was you know, something hard for us to get our heads around. But anyway, we made it to our first destination, and we were heading to Penamacol, if I haven't murdered it, and pretty much most of our properties were on that road leading to that well, hilltop village town. Wait, this has got steep now, and I'm working on this. You know, I'm going to be giving my legs a bit of a workout, considering I haven't been doing hills like this for a good well, a month now. Yeah, so like if I'm panting a little bit because it is absolutely bloody steep here now. That first property we visited, ironically, was the one we kind of liked and had or could envisage what plans we had or would put in place if we were to purchase it. And we kind of liked it, and we could already daydream, like I said, what we thought we would do there. But it was still the same question. When talking about the properties, what we intended to do, what legislation, what was legally allowed, what wasn't allowed, how we could work in and around it, you know, all manner of questions that you might put forward, we would get answers that didn't fully fit with what we knew through our research already. I'm not suggesting lying because or anything like that, so don't take this as me saying that. All I'm saying is a lot of the questions I asked would have needed some kind of legal go-ahead or from the authorities or systems to do what I was kind of suggesting with the properties. But my firm answer was or their firm answer was, yes, Andy, you can do that. You don't need to do this, that, and the other. You can do it. Well, that's not the case. You can do stuff with certain properties, but it requires going through the official systems to make it legal or all above board. So you're not wasting your time, wasting your money, and indeed putting yourself on the wrong side of the law, bureaucracy, local governance. So, you know, yet again, another eye-opener there. I am getting quite high now, and you know, it's really opening the views of the mountains up. And as you can see, this track has got really steep. I've definitely got a sweat on. So we'd seen another few properties with varying degrees of suitability, but ultimately not like the first one. We were then on the road to Pennymacaw, and there was a lot of logging lorries on the road, and from what I could see it was kind of like eucalyptus, I believe. But anyway, it was logging lorries of some description, and they're going along the road in the opposite direction. Now, we were just going along, you know, following our, you know, estate agent person showing us all the properties. Suddenly we see a black flash in front of us as a car shoots out behind a lorry at full tilt, hits the car with the salesman in front of us, plastic, glass, everything flying in the air, showering down on our car. I swerved to the inside, same as the gentleman in front, the estate agent. The black car zoomed on past the lorry and then pulled in up the road further on. The lorry came to a screeching halt, and what ensued next was a lot of people shouting, screaming, arms flailing in the air, and all manner of, I should only guess in Portuguese, insults at each other. Anyway, what then happened was, you know, it all calmed down. The lorry driver went on the way, and the estate agent and the offending car that overtook the lorry, you know, coming into oncoming traffic, which was us, you know, so they exchanged details and, you know, pleasantries, I suppose, after a while, and then we made our way on. But everybody was really shaken at this point because, like I said, it was a close call, and you know, it was a little bit unnerving. So then, after that incident I was talking about with the near fatal car crash, we made our way on to see several other properties. Now, one of those I was very keen to look at due to the price. The bad part is it didn't have a well, but it was the structure that I was interested in, and it was a very, very old farm building. Now, you know, that was what I was extremely interested in because it was also in reasonably good starting condition. And when I say starting condition, if you were to go down the routes of trying or making it into some kind of habitation. Now, I'm not going to labour on about that because you disappear down a rabbit hole in a minefield of correct and incorrect, non-legal, legal, and on top of that, you know, information that is not something an individual should be divulging unless they have full expertise. I don't, and I'm not going to. But for me, that property was a good indication of what I had done my research and was hoping to gain access to. Unfortunately, after a lot of hours, a lot of hard work, as in slogging through properties that are overgrown, and a near fatal car accident, we got to this property, and it was beginning to shape up, but yes, there eventually was no keys to get into the property. So the vital piece or link that I was looking at, there was no keys to get into the actual property, and that was not made clear till we actually got to the door of the property, and I thought I was going to go in and have a look. Massive inconvenience. Rescheduled an appointment, or I have yet to do so because we're still considering what we've just seen and what we've experienced yesterday. So yes, we're yeah, you know, still enthusiastic about property here in Portugal, but it's about actually buying it. Right there, and there's my running friend there, hard at work. But yeah, I'm going to continue to see if I can actually make something work here or not. Now, this is typical of the type of properties we were looking at, and we actually fell in love with this one. It looks like, or we could deduce, that people did actually stay in it while they were working on the land. There was a fireplace or a wood stove that had been fitted at some point. But ultimately, we would have had to make this place fit us rather than it fit us. So we fell in love with it, but we actually did let this property go because we knew we probably couldn't turn it into what we wanted. Hello and welcome back. I'm due to go back to the UK through Spain to Santander and back to Cornwall. So, you know, this is pretty much my last day, and I'm just doing a little walk around this trackway that comes back into the village I'm staying at, and or near where I'm staying at, and I'm just savouring it this one last time. This has become a little bit of a favourite track of mine. You know, it's not a long one, it's not hard going. And if I'm not out doing any other hiking, cycling, or doing anything else, I'll just plod this little lane out, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But yeah, we're due home. So what about cheap properties? What did we find? What about, you know, what we generally thought of central Portugal? And, you know, what was on offer and what wasn't on offer to us? You know, we've been here a month or nigh on a month, so we've had a good crack at the whip to see, you know, and the answers to those questions. It's been, quite difficult, quite emotional, and on top of that, soul searching. But ultimately, we have come up with some answers to some of those questions for ourselves. So, in real terms, I have to be brutally honest that Central Portugal, for myself, wasn't something I just coming here and doing on the cuff, or I've seen the YouTube videos, I've seen all the media surrounding Central Portugal that is blatantly blaring out, come to Central Portugal. I've come here quite simply because we have family here and we haven't seen them in 3 years due to the circumstances that we've all experienced, and it's been worldwide. So, I've had a base, I've had a location, and I've had a fair grounding to the place before I even got here. So, for me, property here wouldn't be, this massive, change of life, change of direction, which more often than not is touted. For me, it would be quite simply, we have family here, and it would be somewhere to stay nearby family. So I have to put that in as a disclaimer, because obviously that changes a lot of the conversation that I'm about to have regarding Central Portugal. I'm walking down to a favourite little small little bit of a valley here, and sitting in it is a very small property with fruit trees, vines, wells, and it's a little oasis in all this dry, arid conditions surrounding it. And I actually loved it, just standing here looking at it and imagining the people from yesteryear working it and treasuring it. So this is a little bit of a valley I've just come down, and you may have seen it. I can't remember if I've got any pictures of it on any of my other videos, but yeah. I really love this little patch of, I call it an oasis. It's obviously somewhere where water collects and sits. There's a well there, and I think there's another one over in the other far corner. But everything here looks so green compared to its surrounding and neighbouring properties. Yeah, I love it here, and it's cool and it's shaded. So you've got the green there, like I was just saying, and just on the opposite side of the track, it's as arid and barren and sun bleached as you can get. But and as per normal this time of the morning, the smell of the fruit and the plants is quite intoxicating. And just everywhere here there is fruit in that. Some of these grapes obviously haven't been picked, and I should imagine they're well on their way to becoming raisins, as you can see here. There is still a few there. But yeah, I just love it here. And I have spent, 20 minutes just stood here daydreaming. So I'm climbing back out of this little valley, and I'm going to find a shady little rock, and I'll kind of just give my little 2 pennies worth to the Central Portugal debate or topic, and how it applies to us, because what it applies to myself and my family obviously won't apply across the board to everybody. But in any case, you know, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. This is one of those things, when you're looking for a rock just to sit down on in the shade, how come you can never find one? And when you're sweltering and you've got to be somewhere, you see lovely places you could just sit and while away, you know, a few moments. But yeah, I'm scanning for that elusive rock to sit on, but I think I found one. Yeah, so I don't have any financial or property qualifications, and this is just all my personal opinion, all relevant to what has happened to us here. So, to cut a long story short, yes, we have looked for property, and the idea would be to flip backwards and forwards from the UK. Right, I'm not rich. I've got to state that. I've been a low-paid, you know, guy, and I've worked in factories and other like kind of jobs, a bit of mechanics, a little bit of like building, a little bit of everything really, and on top of that the army added to it. So basically I've never been in high paid employment, but I've been frugal. That's not, you know, a pat on the back for myself, it's just something I've done, which has meant, you know, and you can see I'm an old guy now. I'm 52, so I don't have rent or a mortgage back home. I've been able to purchase my property, a small 3-bedroom ordinary working man's house. Nothing grand, nothing expensive, nothing grandiose, just a 3-bedroom but a house with a little garden. But ultimately, like I said, I have to put that there because me talking, it's just an illusion if I'm trying to make out that I'm here the same as what anybody else can be. I've also got family here. I wouldn't have considered Central Portugal if it wasn't for family being here. The 2 hours it takes, or 2+ hours it takes to get to the coast, it's too far for me to relocate as a surfer here full time. The heat is too much for us, particularly the young kids. You know, that might sound silly because a lot of the videos that you'll probably be seeing, you'll be sort of like thinking, oh, gorgeous heat. It's a debilitating kind of heat. I mean, I've had to work in this heat in previous occupations, and I've just got on and done it. But with a family of young kids and a wife, you know, it's not easy just to flog that scenario. Let's just crack on, push on through, because the heat is debilitating. So, you know, even just doing simple tasks which might be, you know, you might have to physically do them, you know, around midday, you know, you're putting yourself through unnecessary hardship. So yeah, so the heat, the distance, the fact that we're being bit constantly by insects. I know you can get traps and things like that, but ultimately these insects are here. You have to put that into the mix. And the fact things aren't always as cheap as what you may think. Just looking at building materials or building tools and things like that, it's not always as cheap as you would imagine. So if you get a cheap property that needs some work doing, you have to then be able to purchase the equipment and purchase the materials to do any renovations or work that you need doing. There is also the issue of you know, the governance, what you want to do. Can you do it to the properties? I think I've covered that before, but ultimately you might not, you know, in reality be able to do what you envisage with a property, legally, you know, or through their systems. And I've covered that. A lot of people have kind of like fallen foul, bought properties, and come to realise that what they want to do they can't do, or if they just go ahead and do it, there's always a possibility they could be told to revert it back, or if they try to sell it, you know, as what they've made it, when it comes to sell it, it might not hold the value or be able to be sold as they're trying to sell it, because ultimately it doesn't have the required paperwork, so ultimately it isn't what they've made it. But like I said, you would need to get professional help and guidance if you're dealing with properties over here, and obviously finances. You've also got Brexit, you've got the pre-Brexit crew over here, and then you've obviously got the people who are coming after Brexit, and they've got their own sets of problems which you will have to figure out for your own individual needs. Income, that's the biggest thing I've noticed here. There's a large retired contingent of people over here, and obviously if they're retired they have an income. Now if you're coming here, and I've touched on this a lot of times, wages are relatively low to the UK. You know, unfortunately, you know, I don't think, unless you're bringing in a particular job skill, trade, or an outside job which you can earn outside of the Portuguese system, obviously you would have, if you're earning here, possible taxation things you'd have to look at, but ultimately income is a major player here. If you're coming here and, like, you know, trying to make that living a central Portugal lifestyle on the backs of what you can do here, I personally think that you could be sorely disappointed. Incomes outside of what you can earn here is possibly a must if you're looking to have a quality of lifestyle that you're bringing with you. You know, it's just, income is your biggest downfall when it comes to central Portugal. Well, now you've watched that, I hope I haven't put anybody off. But the underlying message is you need to get a reputable estate agent, a solicitor. You need to have financial advice. You need, you know, architects and land surveyors. You need local as well as central governance rules and regulations, and, you know, all the paperwork collated, everything done by professionals. And on top of that, you want to ask the questions about what you want to do with that property. Take what you want from that property and what you intend to do and bring onto the table, so that information is in the open domain that you're trying to present to all those professional bodies, so they can tell you what you can do and if you can do what you want to do, because that will save a lot of heartache, a lot of wasted money, and, you know, it will stop you being on the wrong side of the law by just buying that property and thinking you can, or doing what you think that you can do when you possibly can't. Yeah, there's a whole raft of things, and that's, you know, before you even start getting into the zoning and environmental side of what may apply to your property. It is a minefield, and you need professional representation. But don't let me put you off. I'm not trying to do that. You can still make it happen, but just be a little bit savvy and don't get swept up in all the YouTube videos where you see, you know, the young and beautiful people off living this fantasy life. It is hard going, and you know, being off grid, and you need all family members or anybody involved to be on board as well. Like I think I may have alluded to, for me and my family, I think we will probably leave the idea of trying to make something fit us, rather than we'll buy something that will fit us rather than make it fit us. So yeah, take care, stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys on the trail. And you never know, in the future you may see a video about us in central Portugal. Take care.